Hello everyone.
Oh, hi Mark.
My name is Patrick. I have a script in my hands, a camera in front of my face, and a table saw to review. This is Rising Saw Woodworking. And this is my HW110LC 36P table saw by Harvey Woodwork. I purchased this about 6 months ago for just under $4,000 Canadian. Including the shipping, and I've had some good experiences with it, and I've had some bad. But before I get into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to go over the spec list of this table saw. It weighs 411 pounds. It's pre-wired to 115 5-20. Don't know what any of that means. It's got a magnetic switch with a thermal overload protection. It's a 2 horsepower motor, 115, one phase, 16 amp. I don't know what any of that means, so if that means something to you, 3,500 RPM is the blade spinning. It uses a 10-inch blade with a 5/8-inch arbor. If you're using a dado stack, it has a maximum of a 13/16 of an inch. That's just over 3/4. Blade tilting to the left for its bevels goes 0 to 45. Oh, does it now? Does it? Do you? We'll see. We'll see. Max depth of a cut, or at a 90-degree angle, is 3 1/8 of an inch, and max depth at 45 is 2 3/16 of an inch. The max rip right of the blade, that's on this side, so my blade's here, fence is here, that's the right side. Of course, you're looking at me, so I might be pointing to the left for you, but 36 inches, the left side, over here, that's 9 inches. The height, it's approximately 34 inches tall, 37, almost 6 feet, 71 inches. Pretty freaking big.
Nice.
And this is a small one. There's a bigger version. The miter slot is a 3/4 inch by 3/8 of an inch depth, and the dust port is 4 inches. It also has a 1.5 inch kind of detour going off it for the over-the-top dust collection. Included in the box, you get the overhead dust collection, the piping, and the blade guard. The dado insert, which is a nice inclusion. 230-volt magnetic switch if you want to change the wiring up to a different system. The Compass MG36 Pro, that's a miter gauge. It's pretty awesome. One plastic push stick. I would show you this, but I threw mine in the garbage. It's the same generic one that you see on every other table saw. And the blade, it's 10-inch blade that comes with it. I believe it's the Destroyer. Maybe not.
So that was a f***ing lie.
The blade that it comes with is a 10-inch by 40-tooth ATB, and this is what it looks like. It seems a bit more generic than some of the saw blades you can buy off the Harvey Woodworking website. It also comes with one riving knife, and the fence, and a handful of different sized Allen keys to adjust everything. Too many of them. Now I'm going to be looking at a few areas when reviewing this table saw. The build quality, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Power, how does it cut? The fence, miter gauge, safety features.
We don't do that here.
Dust collection as one set. Portability, the noise level, and then price, warranty, customer service. Now right before I get into this, I'm going to say this video is not sponsored. I paid for this saw with my own money. That bias is gone. And the most important thing to me when reviewing a product is that I'm going to have some honesty in there and some integrity, that what I say is what I believe. If I think it's crap, I'm going to say it's crap, but I'm also a very overthinking kind of person, so I'm going to be also very realistic about things, and you'll see that in this review here. Let's start with build quality. Right off the get-go, this saw is beautiful. The color scheme, the finish, the polish, it's all great. It was a drawing factor to me, for sure. It's beautiful. Feels flat, sturdy, and it's held up great, for the most part.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
The cast iron wheel that you use to adjust the bevel to get like your 45 kind of shattered on, and not under a lot of force. I'm not a particularly strong person, and I can say I was not turning this wheel like really aggressively. I wasn't pushing into it or anything like that, but I am partially at fault. There is a collar inside of the table saw on that little adjustment there with 2 set screws that allows you to adjust the stopping point for your tilt. When I had first received this saw, I used this digital angle finder right here to look at the angle of the blade, and I set my blade to a 45 degrees. It was directly on 45, flat on table, onto saw. It was 45, it was perfect, it worked. I ran some stuff through it because I did a lot of testing right when I got the saw. And that's what I was trying to do. Again, maybe through some vibration or something, it moved. I could only reach about 46 degrees, and I put a touch more bit of effort, and then it was crumbling and the wheel just kind of fell off. That's kind of what happened. But I'm partially at fault because I should have probably stopped pushing on it. So we'll go back to that in a bit later. The next small issue is actually the insert plate for the table saw. Right now it's almost perfect, but I've had to readjust it multiple times as the weather would change. I don't know if that was causing it to warp, but every now and then I'd go to push a board through it and it would get caught. Or maybe I'm through the blade, I'm about to exit, and it gets caught on the opposite side.
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be
There's that. I don't know if that's a weather thing, because that's kind of all I can guess. Our weather here, it's a little bit weird. It goes like sometimes during winter, it goes minus 40, plus 10, minus 30, and it's an unheated garage. So I can understand that it might not be perfect conditions for this saw. The insert plate as well, it kind of has a little chip out of it, and I don't quite know where or when or how that happened, but that's a cosmetic issue. I don't think that really reflects on the build quality too much. I don't know if maybe I set down a blade on it or something, like another power tool that was running. Not too sure, but if I'm going to point out cosmetic issues, well, I also have this nice gouge going halfway through the table. That's on me. I did that myself. So I'm going to ignore that. Build quality overall, I'm going to be giving a 9 out of 10, which is pretty high considering the shattering wheel. But again, I'm pretty sure I'm at fault for that. So we're going to go 9 out of 10. It's a beautiful saw.
Wow! Incredible!
Jumping into power. It does great. I had a bit of trouble cutting some purple heart. I'll grab that block of purple heart. I'll show you that block of purple heart. So I had a bit of trouble cutting this 2-inch thick block of purple heart. And, well, I can say there is a mountain of tension inside of this piece of purple heart. So I understand that it was struggling to cut through that, but a cutting board exactly this thick pretty much, I was running through it no problem. It was just the tension of this wood pressing in on it. And also, I want to be perfectly fair, I have this hooked up to a 15 amp 115 volt circuit, not a 16 amp. That might make a difference. I don't really know how power works. Also, the blade I'm using, it's kind of dirty. It's got quite a bit of sap and stuff on it. I have to also consider that in this. The included blade did very good. Like, it cut plywood so clean. It wasn't shattering on me or anything. It was really nice, and I was able to cut through pine and any hardwoods I threw at it. It did really good. For a 2 horsepower motor, what you're getting, I'm probably going to give it a 10 out of 10. It cuts fine.
Perfect!
I know the power situation in this shop area is not ideal. If I turn on the saw, you can see the lights flicker. Now I'm covered in sawdust, and there's sawdust everywhere. Ugh. I'm on the fence about this fence. I kid you not even a little bit. This was the only reason I bought this table saw. I saw this fence and I thought, this thing is a monster. It's crazy. All the reviews I saw were like, it's dead straight. You set it up once, done.
So that was a f***ing lie.
I was wrong. Those reviews, I think, were wrong. I don't think those reviews actually used the table saw long enough. But don't get me wrong, when it is set, it's great. It's like move, boom, cut. It's exactly what you want every time until it's not. First, let's look at what's great. You have a high and a low version of the fence, which is pretty neat feature to have. It's showing up on a few more table saws now. I've never used the low feature. I don't know if I ever will. A cool thing that you can do is you can unscrew the knobs that allow you to flip it, and you can actually just slide your fence back and then tighten it back up and use it as a nice setup block if you're cutting multiple strips, like thin strips off of a piece of wood or something, and you don't want to, well, if you have your fence up against it and you're running that thin strip through, it's going to pinch and setting up the fence to match or line up with the ruler is actually super easy, super straightforward. You can do it! And once it's set, it should never need to be reset. It's actually very accurate. However, there are two little red dials. Make sure you ream on those pretty good. Make sure they're really tight. The vibration of using this saw can get them a little bit loose. So make sure they're tight so those little mirrors can't move. And I have to say, it's amazing to move a fence and cut, and it's just the right cut. But sometimes it's not. And why is that? Well, I believe there are these little adjustment knobs to adjust the, what way your fence is facing and how high your fence is and all that stuff. And they have these little, I want to say it's probably nylon, little plastic nibs that rest on the metal, and that's what they slide on. But over time you can see marks in the table saw, and you can see that these little nibs actually starting to flatten out. They wear down. They get out of sync. They lose their accuracy. Sometimes these little nibs will actually kind of rotate from the friction. As you bring it along, they'll start unscrewing themselves or screwing themselves up. The way I know that, and the way I know it's like unscrewing or something, is
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you
We don't care.
because on the back end of the fence, there's one adjustment set screw pin, whatever there. And every now and then, when I'll be moving my table saw from this black polymer tabletop area on the saw, and I slide it onto the cast iron, it gets caught on the cast iron. But I generally have the back raised up like 1/8 of an inch over the cast iron. Why does it ever hit? It should never hit. It should be impossible. But over time, it will start to hit as I move it back and forth. It will lower itself, which can get kind of annoying as well.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
And I do also want to say, I used channel lock pliers to tighten that as much as I possibly could, and it still happened. What I want to know is, where can I replace these? Can I buy new ones? Is there upgraded versions of these that maybe have like a single ball bearing or something that's not going to wear out, that will just roll along? Can I even get replacements? I believe that answer is no. At least my searching leaves me empty-handed, and if you have to go through the warranty process to get these,
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
because these should be a part that you can just buy and replace, considering they seem to be, at least to me, consumable items that wear out. But good news is you can get a upgraded version of this fence. It only cost $1,299. It's called the Big Eye.
And I've decided that
I will not be buying it because I already spent almost $4,000 on a table saw just for a perfect fence. And the fact that it's not perfect is kind of a bummer.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
But I will not be spending more money to get a fence upgrade. But if you are buying this saw, it probably comes with the new fence now. So the fence, I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. Just because of the adjustment issues, the wearing out, and yeah. And the last thing I'll say on the fence is I believe when this style sells out, I'm taking a guess here, I think this will become unavailable and it will only be their new fence. That's kind of how Harvey seems to be doing things. That's at least a good thing.
Perfect.
And Harvey, if you want to send me one of these, you can. I will do a very honest and a very fair review of it. I will have to disclose that it was sent to me. And if it's a sponsored thing, I will have to disclose that it's sponsored. However, my sponsor rules are going to be, I'm going to say whatever's true. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, and this doesn't actually pay any bills. If I'm getting sponsored, I'm going to be keeping my integrity. as much as I can. Harvey? And moving on to the miter gauge. The Compass MG36 Pro. It's pretty darn great looking, like your mom. But your mom, she kind of takes the cake, but just barely.
Boom, roasted.
This thing is beautiful, and it is accurate. At least it seems very accurate. We will do a few tests here. This is the miter set segments. It's a machined piece of aluminum with very precise holes and pins that you can place in those holes, basically set different angles. So if I place 0 and 0, then it's going to be 90 degrees. Yeah, it will be marked as 0 on that dial. If I mark 0 and 4, that's 45 degrees. Would you look at that? That little dial it has, it lines up perfectly. If I go 0 and 8, that should be 22.5 degrees. And yet again, it lines up perfectly. And I will try this on both left and the right side. It's precise. The machining on this thing, excellent job. I will say there's one thing. There's a little bit of flex on the back side, but it's really not that bad, and you don't really have any reason to be putting that much force over there. As long as you keep any pushing force in the front, center with the bar, it shouldn't affect you whatsoever. And the last thing I would say I don't like is the stop block that they have included with it. It can't go completely flat on the table against the fence, so if you're doing thinner stock, it's kind of hard. You have to like stick another piece of wood in there or something, and that becomes a bit of a reliability issue. It has micro adjustments, which I haven't really used, but it's still, if you're doing that precise of stuff, that's a really cool feature to have.
Nice.
If you watch my channel, you know I do stuff mostly with pine. I'm hoping to get into a bunch of hardwood stuff here really soon and maybe actually care about the precision a little bit more. Considering it's included with the saw, fantastic. And that's actually one thing I want to point out comparing to the fence. This miter gauge had a previous version. It wasn't as good. It was called the Compass MG36, and then they made the Pro version, and now the MG36 isn't available with the saw. You only get the Pro version. That's super awesome that Harvey does that. I hope they do that with the fence, and I hope everybody who buys this gets the new fence, because the new fence looks great.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
But we're talking about the miter gauge. 9.5 out of 10. Actually, I think it's that good. I'm very, very impressed.
Wow, incredible.
Safety features.
We don't do that here.
It has a riving knife, and it has a optional blade guard with a riving knife also attached to it. I used the blade guard and the dust collection, so I'm going to call safety features basically keeping your hands safe and dust out of the air. I used it for 2 months, and I found it got in the way, which is good and bad. What? Good because, well, if your hand doesn't hit the blade, that's great. That's kind of the idea.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Bad, trying to do a YouTube thing and you want to have a shot of the stuff going through the saw blade, it's not a very good picture. The dust collection was better when I had it on. Granted, I will still say half the time this thing is clogged, not because of like a poor design or anything. It's like bigger chunks of wood just kind of get shot down there. I need to get a zero clearance insert. I need to get a zero clearance insert for this, and then I wouldn't get clogged anymore. It'd probably be much better. So whatever help it would have done, it didn't really get a chance to do it too well, because I would turn on the saw and dust just goes flying out. And my dust collector isn't super great in the first place. Going back to safety, I have to say, considering it's not going to have saw stop technology, I wouldn't expect it to. It's not a saw stop. The safety features that it comes with, they work. If you use them, they will work. I'm pretty sure it should be very difficult to cut your hand with those safety features, blade guard and everything on. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. If you use it, it's probably going to work.
That was easy.
And for dust collection, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it could still be better. Portability. This machine weighs just over 400 pounds, 411 pounds to be exact. It's disgustingly heavy, but it's a cabinet saw. It's not meant to move. But I do recommend getting the mobile base with it, or a mobile base. It doesn't have to be this one. And with the mobile base, it moves around pretty nicely, actually. I don't really have any issues moving it around. But you won't be taking this to a job site with you.
Come on now, dog.
More than likely. Probably set it up in a shop and leave it there. So I'm giving this a 0 out of 0 because it's not meant to move. Noise. Noise. That's actually like a pretty big thing. I had a rigid table saw before this, and it was very loud, very uncomfortable.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
This thing is quiet in comparison. Very quiet. And besides the hand drill in my shop, this is maybe my quietest tool. The drill press is also pretty quiet. But it is very quiet is what I'm trying to say. I don't have decibel readings, but I am going to do a little example here, and I'm going to have a bunch of sawdust fly up in my face, but that's okay. This is a few seconds of nobody talking. And this is an example of the table saw being turned on. I would do an example of me cutting something, but I'm going to do that a bit later, so I'm just going to insert that clip of me cutting something on the saw. Mic's going to be in the exact same place. Overall, the noise, I want to say it's 10 out of 10. I'm very happy with how quiet it is. Like, that doesn't even hurt my ears whatsoever at all. Not even a bit. I will say it's quieter with a cleaner blade as well. Finally, the price, the warranty, the value, the customer service. Possibly one of the most important things.
It's payback time.
The price I paid was $3,831.45 in Canadian bucks, including the shipping. I've gone over what's included with this table saw, all the things. We've seen all those things. And you can get all those things with another table saw for less. Not those exact things. Not that exact build quality. You can get things with great finish and accessories. If you're going a saw stop route, you're probably going to get a pretty similar machine for the same price point. But I will say I don't think any saw comes with a miter gauge that good. I don't think they do. So that is one thing that stands out 100% over the rest. This saw has precision that you should be able to trust, and I think you can trust it. Be a little mindful at times, and I will say it is significantly better than the Rigid I had. It was a $1,500 saw. This thing is leagues better than that table saw. So much better. It's not even funny a little bit. Sorry, Rigid. There goes the sponsor. Now, Harvey is funny. Their prices go up and down and all around all day. I don't know who's in charge of their pricing. I was looking at this saw for a long time, and it was always on sale every week. Usually a slightly different price, but it was always on sale. I had never seen it once listed at its full price of the $43 or whatever $100.
Oh, Lord. Again. Again. Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
Keep that in mind. If you're going to buy this saw, make sure it's on sale so you're getting it for its regular price. Otherwise, don't buy it. It's kind of a rip-off, I guess. And just wait an hour. It might be on sale. Warranty is pretty cut and dry. It's 2 years on machine, 1 year on accessories, and the things that aren't covered. Damage to the product resulting in negligence. That's what I did a bit. Damage to the product resulting in unauthorized modification of the product. I didn't really do that, but I have now. Damage caused by natural disasters. Well, some people call me a natural disaster.
What do you mean by that?
So that was a f***ing lie.
Theft or loss of the product. Otherwise, you're good to go. And on that note, customer service. So when I bought the saw back in November, it went on a Black Friday sale right after I bought it for a bit cheaper. I contacted support and I asked if they would throw in the mobile base, and they said yes.
I got you, homie.
That's great. I mean, I technically could have asked them and be like, hey, can I get a refund up to the $300 difference or whatever, and got more money out of it or more value. But I didn't want to go through the whole refund process. But it was still a very big surprise that they just said, yeah, sure, no problem. It was added to the order within like 20 minutes. That was fantastic customer service right off the get-go.
Wow, incredible!
So when I was working on that 3-month review, I started having some issues with my fence. And I was asking some questions. I wanted to see if I can get more replacement nubs, if there's any kind of upgrades, things like that. And I got 0 response.
We don't do that here.
And then a month or so later, The cast iron wheel that I used to adjust the bevel, as I mentioned earlier, it shattered. And you can call this partial negligence, maybe full negligence, but I still stand by, one would assume if it was set to 45 earlier and it's made it to that point, it would do it again. You know, the resistance I was feeling, I should have stopped before I did it. But I sent Harvey an email about that as well, 2 separate emails. And I've checked my trash, all my bins, everywhere. I haven't deleted it.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that?
And not a single response. I will say with that email, I'm not asking Harvey to send me a free wheel. I understood the terms of the warranty. I just wanted to buy a new wheel so I could replace it. I mean, I have it working right now only because I drilled a hole in it, made my own pin, and jammed it in there. I modified my table saw to work again. But I understood the fine print. I'm still going to give it a 7 out of 10 for customer service, which is gracious, I think, but it's only a 7 out of 10 because that first experience was so good. If I didn't have that experience, this would be a 4 out of 10, if not worse. Since there was just no response, it might actually be a 0 out of 10 because it's almost no customer service whatsoever. So my final thoughts on this table saw.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here.
This tool, the Harvey 110 LC 36P, is an amazing table saw with great accessories to boot. And it's still the centerpiece of the shop, and I will continue using it for the foreseeable future. Is it the best saw out there? No, absolutely not. You can get more expensive saw. There's better versions of this exact saw. So it's not the best. Damn! But I will say it's pretty great, and I am actually really happy with it. I have no regrets in buying it. I expect any tool that you're going to use and buy, you're gonna run into things. It's gonna wear down. It's gonna break. It's an expectation. It's another hobby of mine is building computers, and
We don't care.
yeah, there's a lot of troubleshooting in computer building. There's tons. I fully expect the same thing to happen with tools. Even though I've run into some issues, the fence.
Now, I'm really mad.
The thing I have to say, if you're going to buy this saw, make sure you're getting it with the upgraded fence. Don't get this version. Get the Big Eye version. The whole bearing system, it looks like it's a much better system. I haven't used it, so I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to be a better bet. It's a few $100s more, but I think it'll probably be worth it. And I think all of that sums up this saw. It's great, but it's not perfect. And I think I would rate the saw overall a 8.6 out of 10. My name is Patrick. This is Rising Saw Woodworking. Thank you for watching. I hope this review of this table saw has helped you maybe make a decision, or maybe you're just interested to look at saws. Maybe it's just like looking at tools. That's definitely a thing. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you want to see more content, it's probably not going to be like this because I don't really have another tool to review, or a big tool to review. But I build things and stuff. I do woodworking, and I make some pretty neat things every now and then. And maybe I make money off them. Maybe you can make money off them too. You should subscribe. It's pretty awesome.